Alright guys, welcome back. GM Light here. So in a little less than a month, we got Insidious 5, The Red Door coming out. So I thought this would be the perfect time to go back, talk about the first 4 movies, kind of go in depth on them, how I feel about them, review them. So let's get into it. In case you haven't seen Insidious, it's about when parents take drastic measures when it seems their new home is haunted and their comatose son is possessed by a malevolent entity. This is a movie, it's one of the first big new horror releases that I really got into. Probably my favorite PG-13 horror movie. I really enjoyed this film. And, watching this for the first time in a couple of years, I was a little bit nervous. I thought it might not hold up to the standard that I had it at. I thought it might not live up to how I had it in my head. Because I watched it when I was younger, I enjoyed it a lot. I was kind of worried about the CGI, the jump scares, the noises. Although not everything ages perfectly well, I will say this held up really well for me, and I had a really nice time rewatching it and revisiting these characters and rewatching this movie. The first thing, and this is something that gets me pretty excited to watch this new movie, is that you really like this family starting out with this movie. You get into the family, you really care about them, and then when scary shit starts to go down, they're likable, you want them to do okay, you want them to succeed and get out of the situation. You're actually afraid for them because you care about them. And that's something that a lot of horror movies tend to fuck up. That's something that makes for a lot of easy, cheap, soulless horror movies. You don't really care about the characters, you don't care about whether they make it out, whether they live or die, but this one puts in the time to set them up, show them moving into this house, show kind of the family dynamics, the way that things work, and it just makes you care all the more for them when this terrible thing befalls them. It's also too, you have such great actors attached like Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne. You really feel their desperation as parents when Dalton goes comatose. They're afraid for him, they're desperate, they're trying to find every possible answer to why he's perfectly healthy but he just won't wake up. You feel all of that, and it just makes you care about the situation. It makes you want them to get him out, and it adds kind of an emotional edge that a lot of PG-13 horror movies lack sometimes, because you kind of take away some distractions like blood and gore and, language, certain things that you could do when you're unrestrained by a rating like PG-13. When you take away those distractions, you kind of have to make the movie stand out a whole lot more, and the fact that this movie has such an emotional point to it helps. It definitely helps the movie. As far as scares, there's a lot of great, slow, lingering shots where you just kind of show dark corners, the window, and make you feel the presence of something there that's not there. And I like that. I like the idea of making you feel the scares instead of just showing you everything. I think that's where a lot of movies fuck up. With the shitty movie series that I just reviewed, Boogeyman, which, by the way, I'm so happy I'm not talking about those movies anymore. That burned me out. But this movie builds up this character of the red-faced demon slowly. It makes you feel that presence of him being there. They show just enough to scare you and feel his presence. I appreciate that they use the lipstick-faced demon more sparingly. They build him up, and then when they have that reveal, it ultimately is very scary. That's a part that I was worried wouldn't hold up too well, but I think that the way that they shot it, they cut it so quickly that they just show his face quickly, he's scary, he roars, and then that's it. I was worried that it would just be this exploitative CGI face and that it wouldn't be scary, and a little part of it doesn't fully hold up, but that was one of the parts I was the most worried about, and the fact that I think that build up and that reveal still works. That's a reason why this franchise is still running and so successful. And with that building tension, another thing is that this movie basically, it gives you all the pieces to the puzzle of this movie. It shows you everything. It gives you everything in your plain sight, but it doesn't give you that context to be able to solve it immediately. It's by no means a predictable movie. It just unravels with all of these things in the back of your mind, and they have these images. They show the pictures on Dalton's wall, the way that Josh's mother reacts to his wife taking a picture of him, all the stuff where it's all there, and it all makes so much more sense when you rewatch it, that all those things are there, but they don't give you the context to put the pieces together. So then when it's revealed, it feels so much more earned because it was there the whole time. And like I said, it makes for the first viewing experience completely different from the second one when you have all the answers. The beginning of this franchise with Insidious 1 particularly, it sets up this world really well. There's a lot of possibilities, and it feels organic is what I'll say. It would be really easy to try and set up this world in this franchise like I'd say The Conjuring does, where it feels like they show all these artifacts and all these creepy haunted items and stuff where it feels like them doing a forced way of trying to insert all these spin-offs that nobody asked for. But Insidious has this whole other world, and the powers and the internal logic of the movie, they all make so much sense that you don't really question it, and it feels like it primes itself perfectly for sequels and spin-offs. And I like the idea that beyond this mainline series of the movies, that we will get these spin-offs and showing other stories from other people's perspectives regarding this whole other world. It just feels so big, and it feels like there's so much you could do with it, and I love that this movie just kind of scratches the surface. It really does extend itself to other sequels in a way that just, it doesn't feel too forced or pushed or anything inorganic. And you know, something that's a hot take of mine is that I think Insidious is the better of the James Wan haunted movies between this and The Conjuring. I really dig Insidious. I dig what it does, the world it sets up, the way that it unravels. I just prefer it in almost every way. And when I was 13, I probably would have shot myself for that take because I really loved the original Conjuring movie. But just getting older, having more time with these movies, I think Insidious is just better in my opinion. Insidious is just more cerebral for me, down to the way that they visualize time and space beyond in this further dimension, where since you're not alive exactly and you're just kind of in the spiritual world where all timelines exist kind of at the same point. Josh, when he's going through the house, he's seeing every family that lived there. He's experienced all of time at once. It just feels a bit deeper. It feels like it's giving this world a bit more of a lived-in feel. And it makes me think that they took more time behind the actual logic behind this world. It's not as simple as just out-of-body, little ghost dimension, and there's scary people and demons and monsters. The set design, everything behind it, it almost feels like these presents are waiting for you and that they're just trapped in time and that they can't evolve past that or move on. And I really love that. This movie's not perfect. I have flaws with it. I think that some of it's a little bit goofy. Sometimes they linger too hard on a shot. Some of the CGI is not perfect, like when the red-faced demon's crawling up on the ceiling. But it doesn't have to be. What it delivers as an experience, I think, just hits all the right things. It gives me everything I want as a horror movie, as a haunting movie. I'm not even the biggest fan of movies like this, hauntings and ghosts and demons. It takes a special type of movie like that to kind of stick with me, and the fact that this did, I think, says something. I also think that they wrote themselves a little bit into a corner by killing off Elise. I know they probably didn't intend on her becoming the main character of the franchise, but that kind of handicapped them and relegated them to prequels past number 2. But overall, I'm very happy with my viewing experience with this after so many years worrying that, you know, maybe it wouldn't hold up. Maybe it might be an experience that I'd want to preserve in time just by not rewatching it and ruining that experience. But I definitely enjoyed the rewatch. I definitely am happy that I went back and checked it out. And it makes me also excited to go back and revisit these other movies, which they're a little spotty, but I'll tell you my thoughts on them when I get to them. Other than that, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'd love to hear. Insidious 1. Tell me your thoughts down below. Subscribe, and have a good one.